On this episode of Geek Dad Live, we're going to compare the new Hasbro Plasma Series Ghostbuster figures to the Matty Collector Ghostbuster figures and the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbuster figures. Hello everyone, welcome to Geek Dad Life. It's your host, Jay Gladfelter here, and I hope everyone has been enjoying the new Hasbro Plasma Series Ghostbuster figure reviews that I put up on Friday. So after posting the videos, I got a lot of questions in the comment section around, comparing it to some of the previous Ghostbuster toys that have been released. And I felt like there was enough discussion around it that I should probably do a separate video comparing the new Hasbro Plasma Series figures to some of the ones that have come before it. For the Matty Collector one, this is my Egon that I got at San Diego Comic-Con. The first figure they released was a slimed variant of Egon Spengler. I was so excited that they were doing, 6-inch scale of the first movie Ghostbusters figures. It's the first time we ever got them. In 2009, that was the first time we had ever gotten them. And then the Diamond Select figures, I thought was just an amazing idea with the kind of build, the Dana's rooftop apartment altar. And I thought that was such a neat idea, so I pre-ordered several of the first waves of those figures, but for me, the face sculpts just kind of really hampered it for me. I do love, though, their a real Ghostbusters line. I have all of those figures, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to compare the Plasma series compares to some of the previous ones. So we're starting off with Egon. The reason I chose Egon is I feel like it's the best head sculpt that Matty Collector did, and I think there's even some comments on my channel around how still the Mattel Egon is the best there ever was. So I'm going to compare them all, and I'll let you be the judge. I'm going to give my opinion, but at the end of the day, your opinion is the one that matters. But at least I'm trying to show it here on the video so you can, make your best judgment until you actually have or can have some of these figures in your own hands to form judgment. But so for me, while I do think it's they did an awesome job with the Mattel figures, the kind of glasses they put on him just looks really hokey, over a decade later, I think, compared to it being sculpted in like they did with the Hasbro figure. It just looks 10 times better. Things that I like better about the Mattel one, I do think the grayer color is better than the lighter color of the jumpsuit here. I don't know which one you would consider more screen accurate. I do know it's not like a straight up, beige flight suit color. But that's, and then the other thing I will give Mattel is I like the clear hose connector, unlike the painted yellow connector that it has. Also, the Proton Pack has a lot more painted detail. Oops, the Diamond Select one went down. Has a lot more painted detail than the Hasbro one, but if you notice, and it's pretty apparent, the actual size and scale of the Hasbro one is more accurate. The Matty one looks microscopic in comparison, and some people will say one is right or the other one's right, but I really think the Hasbro one is far more accurate, because if you look here too, the way they did the Alice frame, it's just kind of smashed in there. Where the Hasbro one, it is a separate piece, and that to me is more screen accurate. And you also have the front strap of the Alice pack, which is true to a real Alice frame that they use on the Proton Pack. So yes, you are getting more painted paint apps on this one. But in terms of accuracy to scale and overall look, I think the Hasbro one nails it. I do think, and having watched some clips of the movie recently, I do think some more of the loose fittingness in certain areas on the Hasbro figure is actually more true to life of how the suits would actually fit, where this one is a lot more streamlined and a lot thinner, and the suits never really look like that. Like, that's how you probably pictured in your mind how it would look, but they never actually came across that way on the screen. This is all molded in as well, these belts, where this is a separate belt on this figure. So I feel like it gives it more depth, more accuracy, and it just overall looks better. And I know some people said the head sculpt on the Hasbro one is not as good as the Matty one, but for my eyes, I think it's a slam dunk for the Hasbro figure. And then let's bring in the Diamond Select Toys one, because I don't even think it's not even close for the head sculpt on the Diamond Select. Uh, say what you will, I guess, for people that really like it, but I mean that's not even close to Harold Ramis. Maybe it's Dustin Hoffman. I'm not sure. But where I will give Diamond Select credit is the rest of the figure looks great. Like, it has a great heft to it. All the details are really nice. They have a painted yellow cable on the back too. The other problem I have with it, and the Proton Pack is more in scale, much like the Hasbro one, and there is a separate Alice frame as well, so I do think you're getting some extra detail there, but it is at a bigger scale, so you have the space to do it. One thing I don't like is it does not stay on very well at all. So, like, if you position it just right, maybe it'll stay, but yeah, that to me is a big miss. So that's Egon. That's all the details between the two. Mattel reused this body type for all of them, so I'm not going to dig into that too much as we go on here. We're just going to focus on really the head sculpts between the two. But, so yeah, there you have it. Egons. Let's move on to the Peter Venkmans. And I think I said it in my review that his is a really tough nut to crack. Nobody's done it perfectly. Even the Blitzway one, it wasn't amazing. Harrison Ford has a similar problem, I think, with his head sculpts, even though I think Black Series finally nailed it with that Bespin Han Solo. So I brought up a few different ones here. I only got the slimed variant of Venkman. That's the first one they released. We didn't get a normal Venkman until much later. And then I do have the Toys R Us Ghostbusters 2 set, but they made him super tan, which looks funny. I never got the re-releases that they did for the 2016 Ghostbusters. I think by that point I just had a really bad taste in my mouth from the Matty Collector line. So I'll also bring in the Courtroom Peter. And again, I think the head sculpt on this Venkman, the Hasbro Venkman, is much better than what we got with Matty Collector. I think Matty Collector is a bit of a caricature of Bill Murray, but at no point am I looking at that saying that's Bill Murray, whereas the Hasbro one, I definitely see Bill Murray there. Does Bill Murray have a face that looks like other people's? Sure. But I really think that looks like Bill. It really does look like Bill. And I think out of all of them, I think it's the best. We'll bring up the Bill Murray sculpt for the Diamond Select Toys version. I can't. Actually, it's for all the times, like, it's not horrible, but it was really disappointing between the two of them. All right, get out of here, Diamond Select. Anyways, back to the Matty Collector. Well, again, it's not horrible by any means to me. With the body, I like better, and while I do like the way they did the untucked pants, because again, I think it's stylistically it looks better, but I again rewatched scenes just to kind of see how they compare, and this is more accurate, even if it looks a little weird as a hard sculpt as opposed to soft goods. All right, there you have it. There's the Peters. Let's move along. Oh, I will say, people were asking about the Proton Packs, if the accessories would be universal. If I had to guess, my guess would be is the Matty ones would not work on the Hasbro ones. So again, Proton Pack's super small. I think this one's a more accurate size. And the fact that it's a separate accessory, it just all looks better. And I know Mattel did ones that had removable packs, but that was like, and I know it eventually got clearance, but they wanted like $100 for those things. I was like, I've already bought this sculpt enough times, so I don't want to buy it again. So there's your Peter Venkman. Moving on, let's go to Winston Zeddemore. I thought it was another one that, a Mattel one that I thought they got the head sculpt. They did a really, really good job on it. But my Matty one took a fall and the head broke off. So this is like slightly taped on just for this shot. So again, I thought they did a really good job with the Winston figure. So I think it is the stiffest competition between them, that as well as the Egons. But I still, to me, I'm going to give it to the Hasbro one because I like the body and how the accessories and everything better. I do think you could say, the Neutrona one's a little bit longer and the tip's a little bit bigger, which is inaccurate. But I think overall, inaccuracies really hit the Mattel figures harder than it hits the Hasbro figures, even though they have more paint apps on these proton packs. But I think the two head sculpts are really good. I wouldn't fault anyone for saying this. The Matty Winston's fantastic, but again, I think they got a really good likeness on the Hasbro one. So I'm not gonna like that. To me, they've captured a scene. They captured on the rooftop shooting at Gozer scene with the Hasbro one. Where this one is kind of like a stoic, just, static face. Let's show the Diamond Select Toys head sculpt. Yeah, I don't see Ernie Hudson. I'm sorry. I don't see any Ernie Hudson there. I'm coming down real hard on these DST figures. I apologize. Again, I think they did a lot of good work with the line when they had the Ghostbuster license, so I don't want to knock it too bad, but these head sculpts just were really disappointing for me. So that's where I stand. Let me know in the comments where you stand. All right, and then last for the GBs is going to be Ray Stantz. Bring in the Hasbro one. I've been displaying him with his Ecto goggles, but I took them off just to kind of give a better comparison on the Mattel figure. I believe Ray Stantz was the second figure, or maybe it was the first figure with the Matty Collector Ghostbuster subscription. This actually is the best Diamond Select head sculpt. I think they did a really good job with that figure. So I'm going to put him back here just so he's in the shot. Hopefully he doesn't tumble over. The other problem with the Diamond Select figures is they're so heavy, they're so top heavy that you have to have some serious foot stands to keep them upright. So, like, the head sculpt for the Matty one is not even close. Like, they took his head and, like, it's the effect they had on, like, Vigo the Carpathian when he, like, got thrown back into the painting and he had that kind of weird warped face look. That's how the Mattel's face looks to me. And, again, I think if there's anything, they went for an expression, they captured an expression on the Hasbro figures, which I really like. It brings them to life more. But I think some people might just want a standard stoic face without any expression to it. But still, to me, it's no question that I think the Hasbro one is a more accurate head sculpt than the Mattel one. And the hair color is actually more accurate. This is like jet black. All right, and then let's take a closer look at the Diamond Select figure. Because I do think they actually did a pretty good job. Like, that looks like Dan Aykroyd. I could see that. It's soft. The paint app's not great, but I do see a Dan Aykroyd head sculpt there. So this is probably the best that I think the Diamond Select Toys could represent in this comparison. And then one last thing that people might ask is the figure stands that the Matty figure, some of them came with, and I think eventually they sold a pack of them or something like that. Again, there's a lot of frustrating things with the way they did it. And I get Matty Collector was this, ragtag, scrappy team of people trying to make something cool happen, so I don't want to knock them really, because I know they kind of pulled it out of nothing to try and make it happen. But at the end of the day, I just didn't want to buy anymore, which is my right. So the peg is really big on these, and I don't know. Yeah, it does not. They are not compatible. So the Matty ones are not compatible with the Hasbro ones. All right, let's move on to some non-kickers. I don't have any of the Matty versions of the Dana, but I do have the Diamond Selects, which is gonna be fun to compare. So here's it doesn't even. Again, maybe it was just a bad paint job, but this doesn't even look like Sigourney Weaver to me. And this they gave her like a 5 o'clock shadow or something. They gave her stubble or something like that. But the colors aren't even there. Yeah, this Dana Barrett figure, this Zool Dana Barrett is a knockout comparatively. I mean, this hair doesn't even look right. Hers at least looks like, circa 1984 Sigourney Weaver hair. So, yep, no contest on that one. Moving on. The Gozer figure. This is where I start to get disappointed by the Hasbro line. I felt like they were they did really good on the head sculpts. Are there nitpicks here and there? Sure, but to me, the Gozer one kind of was a miss. And here's the Diamond Select one that also is not that great. Yeah, to me that the head sculpt, the paint is just really sloppy. At least I feel like the body details are better here and more accurate than the Hasbro one, which is just kind of casted in that translucent color. It's not, there's like no paint apps whatsoever. At least this one has it, but this head sculpt, while the Hasbro one is not great, it's still better than this. Personally, that's just my opinion. And her arms are weirdly short. I still think the NECA Gozer is the best Gozer they've ever made. All right, and then the Build-A-Figure Vince Clortho, which I fixed. I swapped the legs so the knees are in the proper direction. So thank you, Barraza Collections comment. Again, I was disappointed in how this one turned out. Just felt kind of cheap. So let's see. I've never gotten the NECA one either. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild at a toy show or something like that. But I do have the Diamond Select one. And I do think the Diamond Select one is much better than the Hasbro one. Except for the legs. I hate the way these legs are done. They look like wonky. They look cartoonish once it gets back here. Like, the head sculpt, fantastic. And then it just shrinks and then is weird and seems completely out of proportion on the back end. Whereas at least that actually looks right. That looks like, straight out of the movie. That one does not for me. Best all time for a Terror Dog, Vince Clortho or Zool in Terror Dog form, still goes to NECA every single time. All right, that will do it for this episode of Geek Dad Life. If you like what we do here on the channel, hit like, hit subscribe, and click on that bell icon to be notified when the latest episode of Geek Dad Life drops. We have reviewed every single figure in the new Hasbro Plasma Series line, so check out all of those videos. I made a Hasbro Ghostbusters playlist on my channel. You can just click on that and I'll take you through all of it, including the vintage re-release of Kenner's Real Ghostbusters, Peter Venkman. In that review, we kind of reveal that the Hasbro one is essentially a new figure, new accessories, new everything. It looks really close to the original, but it is a new figure through and through, which I think is a good thing for collectors of the vintage toys. All right, well, that'll do it for this episode. We'll see you all next time. Hasta luego, and goodbye.